Welcome to Steel Sanctuary Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Ribeiro from SteelSanctuary.com. And today we got David Korob and Ron Lepuck with us to go over the Steelers' final roster cuts. Guys, how you doing?
We're good.
Let's start with the Kevin Dotson trade that happened earlier. Omar Khan gets a draft pick for Kevin Dotson. Pick swaps, right?
Yeah,
went from
up and round.
Fifth and fourth, and then a sixth and fifth in 25. Man, unbelievable. Omar Khan is like a wizard, right?
Yeah, I can't believe some of the things he made happen. But go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I think it's a good trade and it's the right team. I mean, it's more than just a little bit of a swap because they're not supposed to be so good. So
Yeah.
it's like a round and a half almost of moving up when you think about who you're training up with.
And when you think, I don't know. And when you think that he's got a bum shoulder right now, he didn't play the last preseason game, and still you get a good draft pick for him. I know the Rams are a little desperate. I heard they were down to 3 healthy offensive linemen at one point, but still pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think, it's one of those things where he's probably going to be a guy who's going to play well at other teams. It just feels like he's one of those guys that just got on the nerves of the coaches to the point where it's just like it was time to move on. It just seemed like there's always something, a little bit of mental error here or physical issue there. And it just feels like it's just one of those times where it was just time to move on.
Yeah, and there was some talk. It wasn't really a fit in the Pat Myers system either. It never really took to that type of offensive line play.
Yeah.
So getting anything at all for him is pretty wild, in my opinion. A couple of ramifications of this. It must mean Herbig's healthy, right? Because they're going basically without McCollum, without Dotson, they'd be a little thin.
I mean, they like Anderson. They like some of those other guys, but
Anderson, I guess.
Yeah, I think Anderson showed himself. Whenever he was able to rotate different positions and he did it at an okay level, it didn't seem like it was too much for him to handle. I think that changed everything for them. It's not very often that every draft pick doesn't get cut.
Yeah.
And he was a 7th round last pick. And I mean, for him to stick, he had to have shown them something. Because it's not normal for a 7th round. Now, Corey Trice is a whole different subject there. But when it comes to Spencer Anderson, he really showed them something to make the cut, in my opinion.
I agree. And that's one of the things that I was noticing was if you look at who made it and sort of who didn't, the versatility of a lot of these guys really changed the landscape of who they kept, I feel. I mean, like you said, Anderson can cover a number of different positions. Herbig can cover a few different positions. Cook can play a few different positions. A lot of these guys that they kept were really versatile guys. And I think that really just sort of changed the whole landscape of who they could keep. Like Hayward is another guy who's versatile. That made Gentry, for lack of a better word, cuttable, right? So I just think that this versatility that they have with these guys really changed a lot.
It seems to something stress now, right? Versatility, especially along the offensive line. Almost everyone played a different position during the course of the preseason. Almost every offensive lineman played somewhere else.
Yeah,
it's a sound strategy, I guess, especially coming off a season where they didn't have any injuries at all. The chances of that happening again are pretty slim. So these guys better be versatile and have some depth.
Yeah,
as well. So it's a good strategy in my opinion.
Yeah, as long as they're good at one thing.
Well, that's true too.
Right.
You want those jack of all trades, master of none guys, but I mean, and they had those in the past, right? Where I think
Sean Davis.
Green was another, when you look at, I think one of the things I liked about Green was he could play, 3 of the 5 offensive line positions, and he could play fullback all of a sudden. So I think they really liked that about him, but you got to play him well, or else what's the point?
Exactly. If it doesn't matter if you can play all 3 positions, if you suck at all 3, you're not going to be good enough.
Exactly.
So
I can play all 5 positions on the line.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. So
I think we'd pay to see that, Ron.
Yeah,
I think we'd pay to see.
It'd be very short.
We wouldn't make it through a series, Ron. We'd be put in the hospital very quickly. But yeah, just guys like Green, you could play guard, great. You suck at that too, right? You're not very good at that either, and you're horrendous at center. So he was expendable, and somehow they got a future sixth for him, which is to me crazy. Dotson. Now Dotson, on the other hand, he could play guard. We know he was a run blocking guard. That we knew he could be good at. It was just made a lot of mistakes. Didn't fit the scheme right. It just didn't go well with him. But they were able to find value with him. They were able to get some value out of him in a trade. So, and then, like I said, just when you got other guys you bring in that are just as good as them, but can play multiple positions, then you're golden. That's what I look at.
And that's the beauty of free agency, right? I mean, they spent money on free agency for guys like Herbig, but it paid off by getting them draft picks when you think about who they're replacing. So it worked out well. They did a good job.
Yeah.
They really did.
Yep.
And also, they picked up cap room by trading him and not releasing him too, right? They save about $2 million in cap, which has ramifications. Maybe you don't have to redo TJ Watt now, and you got plenty of cap space going into the season. You don't have to do any restructures or anything like that, which is always good because when you restructure a player, there's always the danger of dead money at the end, right? Because you're kicking the can down the road, and a guy like TJ or Cam, who you'd like to restructure if you need to, that they're a little bit older and that can bite you in the ass. So this is it's a win-win-win all the way around.
Yeah.
And then if that wasn't
good
enough of a trade, somehow, some way, Omar Khan found a taker for Kendrick Green. I mean, we may owe a certain Twitter account an apology, Dave, because we were razzing him about that tweet he sent out there.
Yeah, we're talking mad shit.
We look kind of. We were
Blitzburg,
killing.
I apologize.
Yeah, we got to apologize to Blitzburg. He had a tweet saying, "What could the Steelers get in a trade for Kendrick Green?" And we made fun of him for a good 15 minutes because we didn't think there was any way possible that Kendrick Green would be traded. No,
well, Kendrick Green thought that. Remember, did you see that whole thing where he liked the tweet that said he's not going anywhere and like 2 minutes?
Yeah. Oh,
well, a fan said there was a fan or I don't know, media from out in Houston that made the comment they bolstered their offensive line with the acquisition, to protect Stroud, and everybody's just like, they bolstered it? What?
Well,
that brings up the question.
I really hope it's not true.
Right.
Ron, I'll bet you on this one.
It begs the question: do the Houston Texans watch tape? Do they watch tape at all? Did they see Kendrick Green play over the last
different scheme? Maybe they do something so different they feel like he
could be.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, look, the guy was not off of everyone's radar. It wasn't like we took some guy that no one even had on the draft board, right? The guy had some talent. I don't know what happened to him. I feel bad for the guy because he did play hard. I mean, that's the thing. Like the guy played hard.
He did. That's true.
He wasn't strong and he wasn't good, but maybe there's a use or a system or a scheme for him that Steelers don't run that someone else is seeing.
Or they saw that training camp footage of him at fullback and they were like, oh my God, this guy's it. We got to get this guy in the running back room. Let's go.
Unfortunately for them, they're actually going to play him on the line. They're going to find out. Look, the Steelers didn't do Kendrick Green any favors. We've talked about it. Like, he wasn't a center.
Right.
He didn't want to play center.
Right.
Steelers forced him to play, this was square peg, round hole.
Yeah.
It didn't work. They tried it over and over. Even this preseason, up until the last preseason game, the only position he would play was center. They wouldn't even give him a chance to play guard at all. And I don't know. Who knows if he can actually play the position in the NFL, but it's clear he can't play center. So try something else.
Well,
and the Steelers never did.
This is one of those things where we're just talking about versatility and being able to do a lot of different things, like what they did with Sean Davis. And sometimes I think maybe they do it too soon with guys who are not ready for it. And I think it messes with them a little bit. And I'm not saying that's what happened here, but I'm not saying it isn't what happened either, right? So maybe Houston's just settles them down and says, look, we're going to have you play guard. That's all we care about. Don't worry about anything else. We're going to just focus this year on doing this one thing. And maybe they get something out of him, that the Steelers couldn't because they were trying too much. I don't know. I hope he does well.
Yeah, I mean, a change of scenery can't do anything but help him. I mean, he was ridiculed here and, he was never going to make the team. I don't think I heard today, he didn't dress at all last year. He was inactive every game. So good for Kendrick Green. Hopefully he does turn it around. It's doubtful, but we'll see.
Stranger things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do they realize they just put Stroud in danger?
Well,
just
I guess their alternatives they had a bunch of guys banged up too. They just put their another offensive lineman named Green. They put him on the IR for the season, so they're short bodies too.
Kenyon Green, I think it's
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So
There were other linemen that were cut, right? I mean,
I know. This is the thing. You don't have to trade. You could probably get a guy for a minimum.
Yeah, I just
Gotta
felt
be better.
they clearly had some liking for what Green had to offer that they felt like they couldn't get with one of these guys that were cut. And I guarantee you, there's guys that were cut that can play.
It had to be. That's something I could think of. There's something they saw that they liked that they thought they could get out.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
It's a mystery to me. If watching even these first two preseason games, just watching them, do the trifecta, the penalty, the bad snap, and then giving up a sack. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know what you see in this guy over the last 2 years.
Now
makes you want
he
to
did
trade.
Now he did all right in his last preseason game.
Yeah, he did.
What did the Steelers do? Show him just that footage? They go, hey, check out the last game.
delete
Lamar
everything
Khan,
else.
It just makes you wonder. There's so many things I wonder with them wanting him. I don't know. I'll take it though.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go position by position. This is the 53-man roster as we speak. I think we all think it's going to be a little different by the time the season starts in 2 weeks. We'll start with, let's go to the special teams one because they're carrying two punters right now. We were talking off air.
Yeah.
This is a head scratcher. I don't think anybody really knows what they're doing here other than maybe trying to work a trade and get another 7th round pick for one of these punters. It's kind of bizarre.
What else can there be, right? I mean, either they're trading a punter or, I mean, Mann was not so special. I mean,
he wasn't.
No,
you're right.
He wasn't good at all. He was decent, but nothing great. You're right.
Maybe they'll move the quarterback. I don't know. Remember he had throws as a punter. Maybe they'll trade Mason and move him to quarterback. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, tons of kickers are getting traded today. Maybe they're trying to have a punter get traded too.
Yeah.
I mean, my theory is always that you don't trade or draft kickers or punters, man. You just don't do it. Look at the Browns drafted that kicker in the 4th round, cut him, and had to use the 7th round pick to get another kicker in. You just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't. There's guys all the time on the waiver wire that come out of nowhere and kick good. Scout those guys. What are we doing? Such a waste.
The greatest draft pick ever for kicker will be the 2nd round by the Buccaneers when they got that Agoyo kicker.
What about
I'll
Janikowski?
What round was he?
The Raiders got something out of him though, at least.
Wasn't he the first round?
He was a last pick in the first round, I believe, right? I think he was.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I was
just
like,
insane.
Janikowski ended up being good though, right? I mean, I think
he was okay.
He was good.
Good.
But Agoyo,
kicker,
that guy had to go see a therapist and everything else. It was a mess for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I don't get it. Even picking like Presley Harvin with the Steelers in the later rounds. Why? It just doesn't make sense to me.
If they were really special, I mean, like really special.
Yeah, I guess.
If you knew you could get Boswell in round 5, I'd take him. But
I get what you're saying. Well, I mean,
you
Harvin had all
on the
those
waiver wire
awards.
because that's what they did. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Harvin had all those awards too.
Yeah, but
that might have been like what it was for them to get and take that shot with him in the 6th. I'm just guessing, but
yeah,
I'm against it in principle. I think it's
I
bad
get it.
business. All right, let's go jump back up to the quarterbacks now. No surprise, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky. That's been the 3 from day one.
Yeah,
no one's surprised there, right? And nothing.
Hoping that they would trade Mason for.
I was too.
And it's not. Maybe they still do, and they can pick up a guy like Will Greer or someone like that. I don't know if it's Greer necessarily, but someone like that. I mean, if they're 3 deep in your quarterback room, if you have to go 3 deep, you got issues.
Right.
As it is. If you can get a 4 for Mason as a backup, I'd do it. And then, frankly, he'd probably be happy to go somewhere and get a chance.
Oh, if they offered me a 4, I'd drive him to the airport.
Yeah.
I'd be like, see you later.
I'd give him a limo.
You can wait a little while, see if a quarterback gets injured too, and then deal him like during the first couple weeks of the season.
There clearly is a need for quarterbacks around the league right now,
because they get cut left and right. It's been crazy.
And New England just waived their entire quarterback room.
I don't know what the Patriots are doing. I don't know what
they must be going after like a Greer or someone like that. They must see something.
Yeah, something. They must. Yeah, somebody got.
They like Bailey Zappi though, right?
I thought so. People thought he was going to be a starter for a while.
Yeah, I thought Zach
Yeah.
for sure had a shot to get the starting. I don't know. It's just strange.
That's-
I've never seen that before where 2 of your 3 are gone. Like
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. All right, running backs again. No surprises here whatsoever. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Anthony McFarland. Me and Dave talked on the last podcast. All the carries for Connor Hayward are making me a little nervous. Like
Yeah.
they were setting us up to cut McFarland and use Hayward as a third running back. So I was getting nervous.
Yeah, he was
McFarland had
stressing it.
such a good preseason.
He was stressing it.
You
Yeah.
can't cut McFarland. You can't.
What's up for Sermon, Trey Sermon, who may be a guy that I like out there. There could be a couple backs but the thing is, I mean, right now they don't have a lot of speed on that offense, like true speed outside of Austin. McFarland's
Yeah.
one of those guys who has some of that.
Yes.
I like that they have a change of pace back because Warren is sort of in between. So they've got like 3 different levels of backs right now. I kind of like that.
I love
Yeah.
it. I was telling Dave.
I hope they
the same
stick
thing.
with-
Love it.
Yeah. I hope they stick with this 3 and don't get
Yeah.
cute here.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, again, I don't know if it's a surprise to anybody else. There's no surprise here for me. It's Calvin Austin, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Miles Boykin, and Gunnar Olszewski.
And
Robinson.
Robinson.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Allen Robinson. I almost forget Allen Robinson. I was
I thought
hoping
I thought Boykin may go.
I tweeted that out a couple times. Is he really safe? But I guess the special teams aspect of his game just is too much to give up for the Steelers. I'm not sure.
I would have loved to have seen them stick with Fitzgerald, who's supposedly doing really well in practice, and he looked good in games. I would have, and he did well in special teams. He downed a punt inside the 5. He
Mhm.
made some serious tackles. I would have gone with the younger guy personally, but
My
I really
guess is
like him.
Tanner Moose too getting cut might have helped him
Yeah.
stay.
That's a good
True. That's a good point. Yeah. Forgot
Yeah.
about that. Gunnar Olszewski, I don't know what he adds to this team. I don't even know if he dresses on game day at this point.
I like Gunner, man. I thought
You
he
like
did
Gunnar?
a receiver. Like he's what we wanted Ryan Switzer to be. He's like
Ron's like the Steelers. He's a football player.
Yeah, he is a football player. Look, I'm a small guy. I gotta shoot for a guy like that, right? I know, but he gets open. He makes he does enough to he gets first downs, right? I like that. Why not? He's for a 5th guy who could also, if Austin gets hurt, return kicks. They don't have anyone else to do that.
Look, I'll say this. He looked really good in the preseason. That was probably the best I've seen him look like overall. Like he actually did really well. Like you said, getting those first downs. He actually did really good with that in the preseason. And if he can do that for them, that's fine with me. That's good enough. For a 5th receiver, yeah.
Yeah.
Played wide receiver like 2 years ago. And when he got up from New England, he caught 1 pass. So I think he's developing in that area. So
True.
that's something to think about with a guy like that is, if he's only going to get better as a receiver.
And I never thought about that. I wonder how old he is. Like, is he young? Is he a younger guy?
He's still in his 20s, like
He's mid-
That's
he's
okay.
27.
young.
Oh, okay.
I think it's been in the league, 4 years maybe now?
And that's not a lot. That's not that much.
No.
Okay. Okay.
He's
Well, that
fine,
makes
I
sense.
guess.
Then. Yeah.
It's just, I would have liked to see him upgrade either over him or Miles Boykin, but it is
See,
what it is.
Ron,
I'm getting selfish.
Ron, Dave thinks we should have 6 Pro Bowl wide receivers
Listen,
on the team.
Clearly we
Yeah.
should. Yes.
you can't have enough Pro Bowl wide receivers, man.
Well,
Give me
there's
speed.
wanting
I'm
and then
dying
there's
for speed.
reality. In reality,
Trade a man for Justin Jefferson. That trade's going to happen. Then you'll be happy.
There you go.
Oh boy, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, tight ends. We had a bit of a surprise. Pat Frymuth, Donnell Washington, and however you want to classify Connor Hayward.
Yeah.
No Zach Gentry. He got cut. A little bit of a surprise there.
I was surprised. I really didn't think. I had these weird thoughts about how, like, if you are put a lot on the team's social media pages and you've got your own little show that Mike Tomlin sits in on, that surprised me. Then that guy gets cut, and maybe there's no correlation. I always sort of made a correlation between like a team's impression of a guy. Why would they invest that much in him as a personality if they were going to cut him, or if he was even at risk of being cut? But clearly, the social media team wasn't talking to the coaches. So,
Well, somebody made a correlation. Don't do a show because there was Bud brings a buddy,
Yeah,
And there's
it was
the cookie
Kazora,
show.
that's right.
and then there was another one. And it was just like, damn, they're
They
right.
got cut,
All
yeah.
these guys are gone.
Yeah. focus.
Yeah. If I'm on the
Yeah.
fence, I'm not doing any shows with the Steelers. I'm like, no, Tomlin isn't liking that. No,
Yeah.
thank you. Hard pass. this means also that this is the first year in maybe forever the Steelers don't have a true fullback on the roster. I mean, say what you, Connor Haywood's great. He's very versatile, but he's not the guy you line up on short yardage as a lead fullback to blow open holes. I don't think.
That was Kendrick Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what the Steelers really wanted, is for Kendrick Green to play well at center, to be the backup, and be like a fullback for them too.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out.
Game 2, he sealed his fate. He really did.
Yeah.
I do wonder about Hayward. Like, there's talk about a guy who could do everything, but like, how do you use that guy, right? Like, it just seems to me like he's the kind of guy that I worry that they're gonna try to do too much with him and try to be a little too cute with him, as opposed to just like using him as a really good tight end and using him as an H-back and just really just doubling down on those elements, as opposed to like turning him into a running back or things like that. I just wonder like if they're gonna get too cute with him. I hope not.
Do you think it'll hurt his development? Is that what you're worried, basically?
A little bit, but also just the offense. Like, you get these flows. Like it's like when they have like a really good drive and they try to do like a double reverse and get tackled for like a 12-yard loss, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go with
exactly it.
They've got so many good players. They don't, and Hayward is such a good player. Just use him as he's built to be used. Don't turn him into a running back on like what's the point? You got 3 really good running backs. It's just, that's the kind of stuff that worries me, is they get a little too cute with this stuff. I'm not saying they will, but it's just a concern.
No, it's good.
Yeah, and the thing with him is if you're using him as a running back, then like to your point, then Anthony McFarland or Jalen Warren are in the game. If you use them as, out wide, which they've done quite a bit, that means Calvin Austin's not in the game.
Right.
And even if you're using them as a tight end, then is that Darnell Washington's not in the game, because it's a kind of a weird role he has on the team where he's in, but he's probably replacing somebody who's better at what he's doing at the moment, right? I mean,
that's the concern I have. I mean, it sucks because he's really, really good at a lot of things, but he's not better at any one of those things than the guys that he's going to replace doing it, right? So that's, unless it's the only argument you can make there is like he's better than Washington as a receiving tight end. So you can make that argument if
he definitely is.
So you can make that argument, right? And he's a really good number 2 tight end when you're really in a 2-minute offense or something like that. That would really be like sharp.
But I really want to see them in his 13 personnel with all 3 tight ends out there. I think that could be a wicked thing to run out there. I really do. I really want to see that scheme and see how it goes, because if they do it just every once in a while, just to like to throw defenses off, man, do I think that could be deadly.
I think it'd be really interesting, but to Dave's point, you're taking Pickens or Austin off, or
true,
probably both, right? And
so I mean, that's where I worry about it getting too cute. They've got so many options that I just worry that they're just gonna get too cute instead of like we've got these 5 great offensive threats. Let's just use these guys, right? And let's just use them in the way.
No, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying something like a goal line kind of thing.
Yeah,
something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like just a little bit to throw them off. All 3 guys, are big guys that can make the catch, right? You can still have Pickens out there. If you need another guy that can get catch the ball and be a combative catch in the end zone. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I want to see that. I really do.
Yeah, well, you may. Yeah, it'll be fun.
I think you're going to see a lot of it. Yeah, I think you're going to see quite a bit of it actually. Offensive line, we'll go in alphabetical order. Spencer Anderson, Mason Cole, Dylan Cook, James Daniels, Nate Herbig, Broderick Jones, Dan Moore, Chooks Okorafor, and Isaac Samalu. Dylan Cook's the surprise here, right? I don't think any of us saw that coming.
Well, there was a lot of talk leading into the cuts that he could make. They were really liking him, and then Raven Clark was cut yesterday, and he wasn't looking good anyway. So I think there was some talk that he could make it, but we don't know what this offensive line is going to look like yet, for sure. I mean,
no, there's time. They can still make some changes. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on with the tackles? I mean, it could be. I mean, I think there was some little. I'm trying to remember if it was Canada who said it, and something to the effect that we've got really 3 good tackles and we're still figuring it out, kind of thing. I mean, could it be that Jones and Moore start and Okorafor after all does not start? he had of the three had probably the they all had pretty good preseasons, relatively speaking. I think
For the
he had
most part.
the least good of the three from the stats in terms of allowing pressures.
Yes, I believe you're right. I think Broderick Jones only had one bad rep. Really, he only gave up one sack, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and that was sort of a flushed out of the pocket already kind of sack. But
Right.
It wasn't great. So it's we don't know what this off and what it looks like day one might not be what it looks like mid-season either. But
Yeah.
it's interesting. We don't. I'm curious to see what they roll out day one and week 8.
Right.
I think the Broderick Jones, when he becomes a starter, is the question. It's not if, it's when. I don't think it'll be week 1. I think they're going to let him sit for a little while, watch.
Yeah.
Because Dan Moore and Chooks are solid. They're not spectacular, but they're solid.
Yeah.
With the improved interior, I think that'll help out too. So we'll see. And you're right. There's a lot that could happen. Dylan Cook could end up on the practice squad still, and with some roster manipulations that could still happen. But right now, I mean, he clearly passed LaRaven Clark pretty early in the process. You could tell people at camp were really talking him up. So,
well, Cook came out of nowhere too.
Yeah. And Montana, I think, was the college, and I read today he was a quarterback at one point or something.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. I mean, not junior high or anything, but it was in college.
Right. Yeah.
It's a pretty crazy story when you think about it.
Yeah.
All right, let's flip over to defensive line. Somewhat of a surprise here. Montravius Adams, Keanu Benton, Cameron Hayward, Marvin Leal, Isaiah Loudermilk, Larry Ogunjobi, and Armand Watts. No Fehoko, kind of a surprise. A little bit of surprise they kept 7, although we've been talking about it. They usually keep 6. They were so deep, they just decided they had to keep 7.
Yeah.
The surprise here it wasn't a surprise, but Montravius Adams over Fehoko is kind of a little bit of a head scratcher to me.
I think he could do more. I think what I think happened with Fehoko, I was thinking about this because I think you're right. I like Adams and I like Fehoko more for what Fehoko does, but they have 3 guys that could do what Fehoko does, right? They have Benton already. They've got Adams. I think they felt like the guy that was the 2 guys I think that were at risk ultimately were Watts or Loudermilk. I think that Steve Loudermilk was a guy who got really better and is developing, so keep that track going. And Watts can get to the quarterback. He had a lot of pressures in preseason, like 4 or 5 pressures. So I think Fehoko is a guy that can do that other people could do what he could do, but he couldn't do what other people couldn't do. And I think maybe that's kind of what happened there. But I love Fehoko. I wish they kept him probably over Adams, but I think they probably think Adams is close to him and he can play multiple positions. So
what was Fehoko's contract? Does anybody know how much they were paying him or gonna pay him?
I think it was league minimum, I believe.
It wasn't big.
Okay. So it's not $2 million like Adams.
No, that might be the difference. Well, yeah.
Because that was my reason also why I thought it might be Adams that goes, because his contract was more than Fehoko's. So when they went with Fehoko instead, I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Fehoko's contract's more, but it's not. So I don't know. I'm with you guys. Like I thought Fehoko should have stayed in Adams go. That's just me. And hell, Dave, I've been saying for months they should cut him to save money. Really.
Yeah, you have been on that train for a while. I don't know. When they're playing the Ravens and the Ravens start running downhill and get in a groove, I want a guy like Fehoko they can bring in.
Yeah.
I get he can't do everything those other guys do, but he can do the one thing they need in this division more than most is stop the run. Take up 2 offensive linemen, plug the middle. And I'm telling you, we've seen it. Montravius Adams is not that guy. And we don't know if Keanu Benton's that guy. That's not really his forte. He's more of a pass rusher right now than a run stopper. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. Obviously, they know more than we do, but I would have liked to see Fehoko make this team just for that reason. Just for the AFC North alone.
Benton's the key there, right? He sure showed that he could do that. I do wonder if Fehoko ends up on the practice squad and they use him like Mark Robinson a little bit for a Ravens game. They bring him in and plug him in for games like that.
I would like to see that.
I hope, Ron, I hope you're right. I hope they can get him on the practice squad.
Exactly. He seems like a guy who's going to get swallowed up by somebody,
Yep.
But
yeah,
maybe not.
All right, inside linebackers, we got Quan Alexander, Cole Holcomb, Landon Roberts, and Mark Robinson. No surprises.
Yeah.
That was pretty much set in stone. Once they acquired Quan Alexander, they were good to go at inside linebacker.
You know, when you look at, I was looking at this, you look at Weidl and what he did in Philly, and you look at Pittsburgh now, and you look at the trenches that he built up in Philly, and you look at the trenches in Pittsburgh now and how different they are, even from a year ago. It's crazy. The defensive line is almost completely made over, with the exception of like two players, like the key guys, but they have two rotations at defensive line, one equally almost as good as the other. The offensive line is 2 to 3/5 remade, and the linebacking crew is completely remade. The whole trenches of this team, you know, maybe the heart and soul of the team, completely different.
Oh, the dynamic has changed completely with that part.
Yeah.
We talked about it, right? I really do believe that Ravens game last year was like a come to Jesus moment for Mike Tomlin and the Steelers when they were getting just trucked.
Decimated.
And they could not stop the run or anything. And I think Mike Tomlin at that point said next year's going to be different.
Yeah.
And they at the offseason they said, well, what's the best, you know, offensive and defensive line in the league? It's Philly. Who's key in building that? Let's hire that guy to help us fix this, because it was embarrassing. Like, they could not get off the field. They could not stop the Ravens in that game. And I really do believe that left a mark on Mike Tomlin. He was like, we're not going through that again.
The video of them showing Spillane and Bush, and there was somebody else just absolutely getting ran over.
Yep.
And they couldn't stop them from getting that first down that sealed the game.
That's the one I'm talking about.
That was it. That was probably it for Mike Tomlin right there.
Yeah.
Did Devin Bush make the Seahawks?
I know. I haven't seen. There's a rumor. I read a thing.
They were supposedly going to trade him or try to trade him or something, but that was a rumor. I don't know if there's anything to it.
Interesting. Outside linebackers, again, no surprises. TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, Marcus Golden, Alex Highsmith.
Yeah.
Nick Herbig is the story of the preseason, right? I mean,
certainly.
Dave and I have joked around. He's been fantastic. He's been like,
I love him.
Yeah, what's not to like? And he was good against the run. That was the big concern. Against the run.
Yep.
But I like Paralis, the guy that, he's gonna probably make the practice squad. I also liked Ndukwe, who led the team in tackles. And he got cut early. I was really surprised at that. Not that he got cut, but I was surprised he got cut early.
He did really good this last game.
Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah. I thought both are. I wouldn't have minded if, if Ndukwe had to be your fourth rotation guy, maybe I wouldn't have cried over that. I'm not saying that would have taken him over these other guys, but if that were the case, I would have been. They could do worse. He's not Marsh, right? He could.
No, you're absolutely right. Again, to the depth that they added.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, Paralis too. I mean, that guy, he was doing really good too. The last two games, he did really well too. Yeah, I like both of them as well.
Yeah, I hope they both make the squad. I thought they're both solid players.
Guys, this might be a case, and I hate to say this might be a case where we see a lot of guys get plucked that got cut.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you're really deep, right? You can't keep everybody, and a lot of people get good pressed, and people start to notice, and next thing you know, they're getting plucked. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the practice squad ends up being week one, because how many of these guys sign elsewhere, and how many they can keep and bring back. Let's do safeties next, because I want to save corners for last. Micah Fitzpatrick, DeMonte Casey, Keanu Neal, and Miles Killebrew again. Not a real surprise. Kenny Robinson got cut pretty early on in this process, right? That was the one guy we thought might represent at safety. Other than that, this four solid. I mean, hopefully we never see Killebrew at safety.
Yeah, Killebrew worries me because they're one player away from Killebrew having a major role.
Right.
And Killebrew's not, he's not bad, but he's a special teams guy, and they're putting a lot of emphasis on teams. The Muse did get cut, but Boykin's still there. Venner's probably there mostly because he's a good special teams guy if needed. Killebrew's special teams, and I get it, I really do, but it does worry me a little bit that they're one injury away from Killebrew having a decent sized role in that defense.
I thought Muse played better as a linebacker than Killebrew will ever play at safety. 100%. I'm surprised they chose Muse over Killebrew. To be honest, Killebrew over Muse. To be honest with you, I thought Tanner Muse actually showed you something.
I agree. I really thought.
I did too.
And the Muse came with pedigree. He's a 3rd-round pick. He was a
Yeah.
super fast linebacker. He never really played much linebacker in the NFL, but he showed like he showed some stuff there. I think. But yeah, I think maybe they had an idea they're going to go four deep at inside linebacker, and that's it. And we put some guys on the practice squad, and play. But yeah, I'm a little worried about the Killebrew role. I mean, I like the guy, but I'm a little worried that he's really one injury and in a position that gets injured a lot, mind you.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, literally all three of those guys have gotten. Yeah, all three get injured. So yeah.
I wonder if Elijah Riley wouldn't be the next guy up if there was an injury at safety and not Killebrew. I mean, he can play safety too if he had to.
I mean, that's why they kept and Sullivan.
Yeah. Let's do corners. Patrick Peterson, James Pierre, Joey Porter Jr., Elijah Riley, Shannon Sullivan, and Levi Wallace. Not my favorite group on the team. I'm just going to be honest. I'm a little bit concerned still. I know Dave gets a kick out of it. I don't love this group. I don't.
I have concerns about Pierre. I would be surprised if he's on the opening day roster.
Yeah, me too.
It's interesting because when the Steelers announced their roster, I forget the word they used. I think it was something to the effect of, as it stands right now, here's our opening roster. It's like, okay. It wasn't that, but I'm paraphrasing it, but not by much. I think that I think with all these guys, Desmond King, you got Roby, there's other guys out there.
Yeah, Roby got today.
There's got to be a better choice.
You guys read my mind. King and Roby, man. When I saw those two, I was like, ooh, I could go for one of them.
Went up when they saw those guys. And
yeah,
because Pierre is like, I keep calling him like he's a catch and tackle guy. He lets the guys catch it and then he tackles them. He's really good at tackling.
Yes.
He's got a lot of experience in tackling guys. And, it's like, I don't love that. I mean, I don't see him contest anything. I just feel like they can do it. They got it. And again, another guy where like they're one injury away where that's a position that gets playing time. So, if one of those first three gets hurt, he's almost a starter out there. So,
well, Ron, it's so funny you say it because I told Dave, I go, look, he leads the team in tackles because he's constantly giving up catches and then has to tackle. Like, it's not a good thing why he leads the team in catches.
No, not if you're in a corner leading the team in tackles. That's
bad.
That's a problem. The slot corner thing's still messy to me. Is it going to be Patrick Peterson? Is it going to be Shannon Sullivan? Is it going to be all Elijah Riley? Is it going to be all three of them? What's going on there? I
don't think they know. I think they're going to keep trying.
That's a problem.
Chaos.
If they don't know, that's a problem.
Well, I think my guess is that they're going to try Sullivan and Riley in there, and if they fall on their face, then they'll move Peterson under and bring Wallace and Porter, as your two outside guys. But then that's where Pierre becomes a concern.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me. Unless Pierre is unless they feel like Sullivan or Riley can play corner better than Pierre, and they'll leapfrog him over like the boundary corners. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I mean,
I don't either.
If your choice is between Pierre, Riley, or Sullivan for an outside corner, you're in deep shit. That's a put it.
I'm going with Riley, and I'm done.
You brought up Riley a couple
times. For me, it's Riley. That guy.
I think I might pick Riley over.
You know
Pierre
what?
too.
Riley, he's a football player. That's what he is. That's why.
Our defensive gunner.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The
I don't know. I do worry about the corner position, the depth of it. That Trice injury really did hurt.
I've said that before in this podcast. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the defensive coordinator said it as well. He said that I read that quote today that Trice really hurt their depth. I think they were really counting on Trice to do something this season, and now that's why I think the next move's a corner. I really do believe that's something it has to be, right? I mean,
and there's guys. I refuse to believe that there's not an upgrade right now on the free agency wire.
right this second. Yes.
Well, here's the thing: is at what price? Like,
Yeah.
Roby, I think is going to cost quite a lot, didn't he? I think Roby's the one that had a higher contract. King, I'm not so sure about. Maybe it's vice versa. One of them, I know his contract was pretty.
Well, it doesn't matter now if he's cut. It's just the issue is whether
Is he signable though? Like for what they're going to want to give? Is what I'm saying.
yeah. I don't know. But they've got some money to play with, and maybe it's a 1-year contract, and in which
Yeah.
case, it's almost who cares as long as they've got enough room for, down the road if another guy gets hurt and finding a replacement.
Well, if anybody can pull it off, it's Con.
Yeah.
So, just put
He's
it
had
that
an
way.
amazing offseason.
Yeah.
They've got 2 weeks to replace one guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that makes me feel better. And this does not seem to be an organization now that is settling on what they have. They don't seem to be good at settling. They are constantly upgrading, and that's they can't be blind to the corner spot. So
Yeah, let's just hope that they're not almost like the Montravius Adams. They like him more than the public does, and they think James Pierre is fine. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean,
I was really hoping for Barku. Barku got I spoke to Barku's agent, and he was like, "This guy's gonna be great. Just watch for him." And I bought into it. That's why
there was a lot of
money.
there was some hype between Barku and Madre Hopper. Both of them had talent.
Early
Good athleticism
there
anyway.
was.
Well, Barku led the XFL in interceptions. I think it was the XFL in interceptions. He was getting better and better. The knock with him was more up here than skill. And whatever happened, I don't know. But maybe he makes the practice squad. I don't know. But I was hoping that he'd beat out Pierre.
Yeah, I think we all were. Corey Trice was a lock for this team, right? If he doesn't get hurt, I mean, he's.
Oh,
James Pierre is long gone by now. Corey Trice
I think it's hard to replace James Pierre. I just can't. It's not like replacing Highsmith or Hayward or Deontay Johnson. This is
it's definitely
Are we
replacement.
Are we treating this like Dave does with wide receivers? Like we're not going to have 4 Pro Bowl corners. I don't know. I'm thinking of the rest of the teams, and I'm like, nobody has top.
Do we
4
have
top
one Pro Bowl corner?
It's fair, but the difference for me is Pierre plays a lot, even when it's not like Gunner is going to see a ton of time or that 5th receiver spot, but that corner spot, that guy sees time a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing that I hear you and I agree, but I haven't seen Pierre make an actual play on a ball.
No, you're right. You're very right.
It's just like an automatic first down. It just him out there just worries me.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the last time we saw Patrick Peterson. He wasn't exactly lighting it up either. He was having a tough time in man coverage too. He's not. I'm not going to say any more bad things about Patrick Peterson until the season starts.
No, Dave, you seem like you had something else you'd like to say. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna.
Just let it out there, bro. What
it's all rainbows and unicorns right now. The Steelers had a great preseason. I'm not gonna shit on Patrick Peterson anymore. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna watch the 33-year-old corner in man coverage against the Cincinnati Bengals and see how many. Watch my Twitter feed go bananas.
I don't know if Dave's not saying anything yet saying something.
What's that?
I love how you're not saying anything at the same time you're saying something.
Yeah, there was a lot of.
This is as good as I can be. This is as good as I can be.
There was a tude with that. He had a little bit of an attitude with that little pick. Oh, that was good.
I mean, overall, this is probably the deepest roster the Steelers have had in 5 years, maybe more. Right?
I can't remember the last time they were this deep.
And it's young.
At so many different positions. Yeah, that's a good point.
What did you tweet out? The average age was 26.
Yeah, I did the back of the envelope number crunching. 26.4 years on average per player. And the good thing too is that most of the older guys have guys behind them ready to take over, theoretically, like Hayward. We've got Benton there. Peterson is the one guy that they're going to have to find another corner. They're going to have to drop the corner high again soon because unless Trice really pans out.
I think they wait and see on Trice and then go from there. Yeah, but It's young. It's exciting. Yeah, the depth on this team is just crazy. We talk about it all the time. It's like every position just about is 2-3 deep with quality players. You can't say enough.
Another thing that it just hit me. Another thing about this squad is it's relatively healthy coming out of preseason.
Yeah, knock on wood.
They got real lucky. I know, right? I mean, knock on wood over here. Yeah, because I don't recall. It's been a while since we've come out of preseason this healthy.
Yeah,
where there was no issues, because it seems like every preseason there's always one where you're like, oh, geez, here we go.
And it's crazy because it was a rough camp. It was a very physical camp.
Yeah, they're one of the more physical camps of anybody for sure.
And it's just strange. I don't know. The rougher the camp, the healthier they are coming out of preseason. I don't know. It's just strange. Unless there's some kind of crazy study that shows that because you don't, he made that comment, you got to spar before you can box or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something to that.
There is a study that, I'm trying to remember who I spoke to about it, where the teams that didn't practice hard weren't ready for the regular season. So it's not so much not getting injured in preseason, but when the regular season comes around, they aren't ready. They don't know how to absorb hits. They're not as,
right.
As with it, for lack of a better way to say it. They don't absorb hits well because they just haven't had that experience, basically.
And they said that it's a big advantage the Bengals when we beat them last year, right? Yeah. I think they said they weren't quite with it. And then Buffalo the year before that, like they just weren't in sync yet. But the Steelers played their starters a little more, so they were ready to go.
I am stunned twofold. I'm stunned at how much time there is between the last preseason game and the regular season. It's insane how much time there is between those two. Yeah, I think it's a huge problem.
It's nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like 2 full weeks.
It's insane. Yeah. And more so that teams wouldn't play their starters in that last preseason game, knowing that it's pretty much a 3-week layover between one game and then the next, and that before the regular season then. So like Atlanta, I was like, what are you doing? You're Atlanta. You need these reps. And you're not going to play a real game for 3 weeks with your starters. Are going to play a game for 3 weeks.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'd be surprised if they didn't come out flat that first week. And
I'm guessing the NFL wanted to give teams 2 weeks in case there were injuries to see if that'd be enough time for important players to heal before the season starts. I mean, that's the only guess I come up with. They want to give them that much time off. But I agree, that's too much time. They should have slid these games down. If they were going to go to 3, slide them back towards closer to the season.
When do that? Yeah. It's
just think the NFL just can't wait to get started. They want to start grabbing the headlines.
Yep, the Hall of Fame.
They want to start
game.
early in the summer. Yeah,
they want that Hall of Fame game around the same time, and they want to roll right through with it. Yep, I agree.
It's all about ratings and getting TV shares and getting their names, in the media and stuff like that. It's
now they've got 2 weeks of dead time.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part, because even that, what's the problem with starting? Well, they don't start Labor Day because that's the college football, right? They kind of respect the college football start, so they give them that weekend for them, and then they start the weekend after.
Yeah.
I don't know why they give a shit about this college football. They don't give a shit about anything else, their own players or anything. I don't know why that's a big deal.
Well, it's Saturday anyway. It's not Sunday.
Yeah. And they've started playing Saturday games more and more now. It's not like they leave Saturday just for college.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, this layover, because it's so much time to just. It's like the season's a standstill for 2 weeks. The cuts are done, teams are intact, and you're just waiting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's got to be a reason, but maybe it's because of baseball and they can't get to stadiums. I have no idea.
There's that issue too. I mean, hell, the Steelers finally got a freaking home game to start the season.
Yeah.
That don't ever happen because of that problem of PNC Park having the Pirates at the same time. Steelers got a game. They can't do it. But for some reason, they were pulled off this time.
Yeah.
I wanted to just touch on a little bit these last 2 drafts. I know I've talked about it before, but it's been phenomenal. If you just look up and down the line, these last 2 drafts the Steelers have had, almost everyone is on the team except Corey Trice, who's injured, and Chris Oladukin. The rest of everyone else is going to make this 53-man roster in this last 2 drafts. That's pretty amazing. And that's a big reason why they're so deep right now, is they've just absolutely killed these last 2 drafts.
That's huge. It's huge, and it's great for the Cats.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. the cap, hitting on these many young guys, the cap is just, and then Khan being who he is with having this much cap space to play with.
2 years from now, though, not next year, but the year following, not the end of this year.
Free agents paying the piper on these things. Yeah,
it'd be kind of nutty. We've got like, I think Cavoli tweeted out, and I misunderstood his tweet. I wasn't truthfully not very clear, but there's 11 starters as it stands right now that are free agents in, at the end of not this season.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
That's going to be rough.
Insane. I mean, obviously they'll sign some of them before then, but yeah. I didn't think of it in those terms. That can
they'll have the plan in place to replace them with draft picks. That'll be the plan.
Hopefully.
Replace with draft picks. Some will stay, some will go, and they'll go from there and hope that it doesn't hurt them too much.
Maybe they can get an extension or two between now and the season too.
True, but if Kenny pans out, which it looks like he's going to, that's the contract that's going to be interesting to see, because the way they're paying quarterbacks nowadays.
I'm trying to think though. So Peterson would be one of those guys. He's going to go anyway. Peterson.
This could be one and done with him. It could be a one and done thing with him.
If not one or two and done. But he's a rental. We know that he's going to be one of those guys. I don't remember who. I think Freiermuth is one of those guys.
Freiermuth and Najee are going to be the next two.
Najee's going to be super interesting to see how they handle that.
Yeah, Najee's got the 5th-year option they got to make a decision on after this season. And Freiermuth and him are both going to be up at the same time. That's going to be very interesting because, we talked about it. Najee's not going to go quietly. He's going to want to get paid.
Is Deontay one of the guys too?
Well, he just signed, but it was only a 3-year deal, right? So this is year 2, right?
Right. So Deontay Johnson would be one of those guys.
Not about him. I didn't even think about that.
One of the offensive line, maybe more. One of the offensive linemen, I think, at least.
Chooks is up, right?
I think Deontay's going to be gone. You think Deontay's going to be gone?
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on
if they let him hit free agency, then he's probably gone.
I think it depends on how well Pickett's doing. If Pickett's playing really well, that means Deontay's reaping some of that benefit, and maybe he'll stay. If Pickett's not, then I think Deontay is not going to want to stay anyway. But because they've got Austin, they've got Pickens, so they've got those guys intact, and they can find a third, if they had to. But I think Deontay probably would go ultimately. That's his 3rd contract. That's Najee would go, Peterson would go, Freiermuth. I don't think they'd let go.
No, I don't think so, unless he has another concussion.
Right.
Maybe that might not scare them, but he's going to stick around. Cam Hayward, you got to think.
Yeah,
by the time catches up with him at some point. But
I think a couple of the other defensive like Adams and a couple of those kinds of guys, Watts, Adams, some of those guys are in that mix too. I'm trying to think who else is, but in any case, there's a number of people, some of which you get to see go anyway. Hayward may retire in 2 years from now.
Yeah, that would be a big chunk of change. All right, we'll probably do a preview show close to the season, but let me get your thoughts right now, a feeling of how you feel guys feel this team is. Is this a playoff team going into 2023?
Good, Ron.
Dave, you go first. All right.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Hell yeah, this is a playoff team. remember, I've been re-injured since that game too, and I went to that game. I am all in with this team. I think they're going to win 11 or 12 games. I really believe that.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, you look at the schedule, you look at what this team's been doing. There's so much depth. It's a lot different where you're not going, well, if they lose this guy or that guy, they're really in trouble. There's only like 1 to 2 groups maybe where you're like, okay, there might be some issues like we just discussed. But overall, man, they are stronger in the trenches. They're stronger at weak points from last year. They're stronger there now. And Kenny looks legit. That's the number one thing out of all of this is that Kenny Pickett looks for real. And that's all that matters right now is that part. Because if you don't have the quarterback, then you don't got a chance in hell. So the way he looks, I hope it's not a mirage. I hope it was not just preseason, but the way he looks, this is a playoff team. Around 11 wins is what I'm saying.
All right, Ron, what do you think?
I think so. It's a tough division. I mean, I could see, Pittsburgh could be first or last in this division. That's how crazy it is. I mean, so I do think, like Dave said, it's all depends on Pickett. And, the only thing I worry about with him is he's thrown 14 passes this preseason. I think it's 14. Yeah. And so, that's like a quarter of football. So he's looked really good. And I'm hoping that that's a real strong indication of what we can expect. But I kind of wish he had played more so we can see a little bit more. But I get it. It's a tough division, man. I think it's a playoff team, but any other division, I'd say easily. But this division is tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, if they're playing NFC North, they're a lock, right? If this is an NFC North team, they're a playoff lock.
I think any other division they're in.
Yeah. I'm going to say they are, but it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be really, really close. I don't believe in the Browns, and I don't really believe in the Ravens either. I don't think they're going to be as good as people think. I really don't.
I agree.
I think OBJ is just a bad move for the Ravens. I think he's just gonna tear that team apart. I really believe that. The Browns just can't get out of their own way. They just can't. I mean, if Deshaun Watson balls out, then we got a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's a talented team. If he pulls it all together, then I don't know. He looked like, I know he missed a lot of time, but he just didn't look good last year. Just didn't look like the same guy.
I didn't think he looked like preseason either, to be honest. But
yeah,
I just worry that like he's done it, right? And at some point, like we say this every year with this team, at some point, this talented team has got to start winning and looking good. And yet,
or Stefanski's going to get fired. He's going to be gone.
Yeah, the jury. I was just going to say the jury's out on that.
Too much. Yeah, there's too much talent there for them to have failed like they've failed, like miserably. Minus the year they eliminated the Steelers.
If it's all Watson, he's sucking. That's on the GM. I mean, that's
a good point.
Really pushed it.
That's a good point.
So if everything else is running on all cylinders and it's just Watson sucking, it would be ironic and fitting, but all the same.
Yeah, no, you're right. The GM will be packing too, because how much he guaranteed that guy after 700 and something days not playing, or whatever the crazy number was he didn't play. Like, yeah, you're right, Ron. Like, that dude, they're gonna send him back if he sucks. You're right.
What happens if Watson is struggling during the year? Like, what do you do with him? Can you sit that guy?
They keep?
I'll tell you what, you can't cut him. You cannot cut him.
No,
Try to trade him because the salary cap implications are just.
Well, is Brissett still with them?
I don't even know who their backup quarterback is.
They have that guy.
Because he did good for them last year. Yeah. He beat us. Like, he did well for them.
Better than Watson was.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point. So I wasn't sure if he's still with them or not. Because if he is, things can get interesting if Watson struggles to the point they bring Brissett in and Brissett does better and they win with him. Boy, that could cause some.
I don't think they're going to happen. I think they're going to ride Watson out to the season's end if they can, because they just can't let that happen.
They almost have to, because the salary cap, like if they cut him, it escalates to like 150 million or something crazy like that.
I think that makes sense. They're probably down that hill with him. They're probably right.
They're going to have to. I mean, it's crazy. Let's see. Who's the backup quarterback for the Browns? Sean Watson. Oh, it's that Dorian Thompson-Robinson draft pick. He's the only other.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Quarterback on the roster.
I forgot that they drafted him.
Yeah. He's not a bad. He wasn't bad in preseason. But
no, he's a rookie. I mean, yeah. And he's a smaller kid too. So yeah, the AFC's loaded. It's going to be an uphill battle for the Steelers to make the playoffs. There's so many good teams. I mean, you get Miami and Buffalo.
On the decline.
You think Buffalo's on the decline?
They do.
They look like hell when they played the Steelers. Their starters did not look like they wanted to be there at all.
That's good.
You still got Josh Allen, man. As long as you got Josh Allen, you have a chance. You know.
Let's hope
Cincinnati. What's that?
Let's hope we say that about Pickett.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's hope we say that about Pickett. He's probably already better than I ever thought he was going to be. I was a little disappointed when they drafted him. I'll be the first to admit. He's shown a lot more signs of being able to be above average than I ever thought he would. So I'm already surprised.
This year is it. I mean, if he doesn't do it this year, I think, if he, not that it's like the end or anything, but I think considering the progression that he's shown in preseason, if it doesn't show up in the regular season, you got to wonder like what it's going to take. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, the next shoe to fall will be Matt Canada, right? If the offense struggles again this year, that's the next one. And then it'll be Pickett after that.
Yeah.
And maybe even they start looking at Tomlin because he chose to keep Matt Canada. But we've seen no signs of that yet. I mean, they've looked great in preseason.
We'll see. Yeah.
So much talent. I mean,
I think
they don't do well.
It's almost tougher for Pickett maybe because there really is no other reason to fail but Pickett, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, yeah. So I wonder if that's harder than having to overcome things and having other things that you could look at as reasons. I don't know.
And they jump right in the fire. It's the 49ers and then the Browns, week 1 and week 2. So we'll find out a lot really quickly. I think the 49ers are the best team in the league, or one of the best teams. So
Yeah, they're up there. Great
the talent wise, they got
hell of a
talent.
test throughout the bat. Now they might not have Boza though. That's
Yeah.
something to keep an eye on.
That'd be nice. It'd be
No,
got an offense, man. They've got an offense.
he needs
That's
to
a good
fight
option.
for the contract that he wants.
Yes, we're all rooting for you, Nick. Get your money.
We
Yeah.
support
Get your
you.
money, brother. Have you seen the Chris Jones thing too? Not to get off topic, but he's up to like $1.5 million in fines. He's getting fined $10,000 every practices he misses. It's insane. He never, and I was reading about this. The team is not allowed to pay that for him. That's got to come out of his pocket. So that's lost money. He's never going to get back.
They'll find ways. They'll give
What's
him
that? Yeah, maybe.
contract it is. This contract would be the fine number more than
More than
asking.
exactly. Yeah, maybe right. It's just crazy to me,
Yeah, I couldn't fathom just letting that money just go.
right? Just seeing that every day, 10 grand.
That's
There's no way.
Window.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all I got. Unless we got anything else, this is
In the comments, Tanner Myers here said it's amazing how much Trice impacted the corner room as a 7th round pick. Room would look better with him.
I couldn't agree more, man.
That's what I told him.
100%. One more thing I should say: Benny Snell got cut today. I think it's the end of the line for Benny Snell football.
Yeah.
I don't know if he latches on anywhere else at this
He's
point.
good on teams. He's good on teams. So that might get
Yeah.
him somewhere. But yeah, you're right. It's not looking great.
It was the Lions, right? He got cut by the Lions today.
Yeah. I mean, Lions are deep on offense, but
Yeah.
running backs are not hard commodities to find these days. And he's,
Well, we're not for Benny Snell. All right, guys, that's all we got. You got anything going on, Ron, for interviews that you want to?
got Byron Leftwich coming up next week.
Nice. That's a good one.
So that'll be fun. And the usuals. Other than that.
Dave, you want to give him your stuff, and then I'll give him mine, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, you can find me at M_Corb on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. Hey, look, I'm on TikTok under Still Sanctuary Podcast or at Still Sank Pod. Look, I put it on there. I'll put it on here. Hey, we wanted to maybe do a segment where we just, any up and coming brewery or any Scotch companies or cigar companies, any up and coming brand new looking to get their name out there, send us samples, man, and we'll put it on here. We'll try it. And I'm outside smoking a cigar as we speak, drinking 4 6s beer that I've never tried before. It's amazing. Send us stuff, man. DM me or Dave, and we'll figure out a way, man, to get your name out there. But that's really all I got.
All right, you can follow me on X. We got to get used to that, right? The Twitter thing is just it's tough.
Yeah.
Steeler Sank 16. Follow the YouTube page of Steeler Sanctuary and email us at deavr@steelersanctuary.com. Until next time, thanks for listening to Steeler Sanctuary podcast.
There you go.